How's it going, everybody? Nick from Kizaru Gaming here, and today I have my top 4 3v3 deck profile for Tearlament Paleozoic. I say that with a little bit of apprehension because I did extremely poor during the 3v3, and my two teammates, Ryan and Josiah, carried. They both played, Josiah played Rika, and Ryan played Runic Sprite, and their deck profiles are going to be up on the channel if you haven't seen those before you see this one. I ended up going like 1-5 in my matches. I got sacked a ton. But, you know, this is a very fun deck. I really enjoyed it. I'm going to continue playing in the future. We're going to learn from our mistakes and just play better. So I'll get into the deck profile for the cards that I played. So for the Tearlaments, I play double Rhino Heart. This is the only 2 of. It's not the craziest one. And then just triple of everything else. Merly, Havanus, and Sheeran. You guys know what Tearlaments do. I don't really have to explain these to you guys. I think that this ratio is perfect. Some people play 2 Sheeran, 2 Rhino Heart. I prefer 3. I think Sheeran discarding Backjack, Sheeran discarding Shadal Beast, Sheeran discarding literally anything is crazy. It comes up to the point where I feel comfortable playing 3 of them. Speaking of which, triple Backjack and 1 Shadal Beast. This card is crazy. A lot of people only play 2 of this. I don't think that's correct. Blind Backjack in Graveyard is never, like, I never feel uncomfortable doing that. There's only 2 cards in this deck that this does not interact with, and it's Instant Fusion and Foolish Burial. So if you just blind Backjack, I mean, 2 out of 40 just is a gamble I'm willing to take, especially since this is already an RNG deck. It's a gamble I'm willing to take. This will trigger Tears, it triggers a Sullik, it sets whatever traps. This card is insane. Shadal Beast draws a card and makes Winda. That's really all it does is makes Winda. And now for the 2 spells, 1 Instant Fusion, 1 Foolish. The only one I would consider cutting is Foolish. This card's kind of mid, but it sends Backjack, and Backjack's crazy. Late game, I guess this is okay if you already have Tears established in Grave and you don't really have much going on in your hand. Instant Fusion is the 1-card combo. This card's probably going to get banned, and I'm upset about that because I'm a Predaplant player. For the trap cards, for the traps, it's triple Sullik. This card's crazy. When it's sent to the graveyard, searches a tier. And the on-field effect's also bonkers. If it's sent off Backjack, you just search any Tearlament. You send it off Morella a lot. It just searches Havanus during your opponent's turn. Speaking of which, for the Paleos, triple Morella, triple Dinomischus, triple Canadia. So this list is missing the 1 Anolioides. I played that card for the 3v3. I did not play it today at locals. That's why it's not in here. So this list is missing the Anolioides. That is the 41st card. I did play 41. But these are crazy. I wouldn't really change any of these. This to 2 maybe, but this is really good versus Sprite. Book the normal summon. This takes care of a lot of problems, and this card is absolutely insane. This is the best Paleo in my opinion. My biggest struggle with the deck is just remembering to activate Paleo effects and remembering to trigger Lost Wind's Grave effect, but we live and we learn. We're just going to be better players because of it, and these cards are crazy. This sending, you know, Rise to Full Heights, sending Sullik, sending literally anything. Morella is absolutely insane. For the other traps, the second best card in the deck, in my opinion, Needlebug Nest. That's just mills 5. If you open up Needlebug Nest, you're just gaming. The RNG chances that you're hitting something good. There's 40 cards in the main deck, actually 41 in the main deck. 36 of them have effects in the graveyard. The only ones that don't is Needlebug Nest and the Instant Fusion and the Foolish Burial. So Needlebug Nest is going to put in some kind of work at some shape or form. If you open 2 of these, you're just taking over that game. You're playing on your opponent's turn. You're interacting with them so much that it's crazy. This card is absolutely nuts. Triple Lost Wind. I thought about putting this at 2, but this card overperformed. Negating effects permanently and then having attack permanently is actually crazy. I don't know what I was thinking when I was like, oh, I should put this at 2, and Ryan convinced me to just keep it at 3 because this card is bonkers.
I can't keep this.
Yeah, I know. I don't know why I would have thought that Lost Wind should be at 2. But Lost Wind's literally one of the best cards in this deck.
The time I faced Paleo, that card shit on me so bad.
Lost Wind's crazy. Just the fact that it's permanent is insane. And obviously all these are normal traps. 2 Breakthrough Skill. This was at 3. Cut it to 2 for the Olenoides. This card's okay. It's pretty good. It lets you play on your turn. When you mill this and your opponent has some kind of board, you can just start banishing these. A lot of people just like haven't played when Breakthrough Skill was like meta relevant, so they forget that this has a grave effect, and they're just like, okay, set up a board, pass, and then you just Breakthrough Skill, start playing on your opponent's turn. And for the last card, best card in the deck, Rise to Full Heights. Most people know what this does. If you do not know what this does, this card is absolutely insane. The on-field effect isn't crazy. I don't love drawing this card. I really want this in my graveyard. On-field, doubles the defense of a monster until the end of the turn, then it becomes 0 permanently. But the engrave effect is you can banish it to target a monster you control, and the rest of the turn, your opponent can only attack that monster. So if that monster leaves the field, if they attack over it, whatever, they can no longer declare attacks. This is 4 extra turns.
So what you're telling me is if you have 3 Paleos on the field and a Sprite Elf or something, and you put that on the Sprite Elf, they can't out the Paleos.
They simply cannot out the Paleos. Then it goes to your turn, and then you just get to dance on them. This card just buys you the 1 to 2 turns that you need to just continue to take over the game. This deck is all about resource management and making sure that you have more things to interact with your opponent than your opponent has things to interact with you. Obviously, it gets blown out by like Lightning Storm, Harpy's Feather Duster, evenly matched those cards. But the good thing about this deck comparatively to like Eldritch and like Floodgate decks is that these have interactive trap cards. So when your opponent like standby main, battle phase, you're like, okay, start flipping stuff. If you have Morella, you flip it then. Rise to Full Heights, flip it then. There's always things that you can do because these are interactive, and you can just chain them to whatever your opponent's doing. You can activate them at any point, and they don't remain face up on the field like floodgates. So you just get to you're able to play around those things a little bit better. You're still going to get blown out, but remember, everything has an effect in the graveyard. You're probably not losing there, especially if you get evenly. You're obviously not losing that turn. And I'm really confident with the main deck. The only thing that is going to change coming forward is these cards, which I will show really quickly. The Dabble cards, 1 and 3. I don't know if I want to main or side this yet. I mained it today at locals. I was able to get my hands on them, and I milled them a lot. It performed really well when I saw it. I even tribute summoned it once and then searched. This card is just crazy. Scream is definitely going to be included in the main deck. This I definitely played today. If you control a tier and there's a summon at all, it just mills 3, and then when it's sent to the graveyard, it searches Salik. And Salik is such a powerhouse in this deck specifically because you always end up with like a random tier monster. Since you don't play a lot of links, there's only 2 links in the extra deck. You always end up with like a random 1, 2, 3 maybe tiers on the board at the end of your combo. If you just don't hit anything crazy off of the mill 8 from the Kikalos Miri combo. There's just situations where this is just absolutely bonkers, and I really like just searching the trap. So those are definitely going to be included moving forward, but these were not played during the 3v3. Olenoides was instead. For the extra deck, the tier fusions, and that's another card that is going to be played moving forward. We're going to put this off to the side because I did not play this for the 3v3. This was an Paleozoic Anomalocaris. I will talk about that when I get to the XZs. But for these 3, 2 kits standard. I wouldn't change this. This doesn't need to change. I got Lithosagmed twice against Dino, and both times he banished my Kaleido Heart, my Totally Awesome, my Zeus, and this was the one that hurt the most. Like, I banished my Zeus, banished my Toad, I really don't care. I really need Kaleido Heart to break boards. Since this deck does not play the field spell, it's very hard to push through boards without having access to this card. But this card, when you have access to it, absolutely crazy. You're pushing through boards. It does a lot for you. Moving forward, this card is also crazy, and this replaces Anomalocaris, but I'll get to that to the XZs. The other fusions, Double Dragostapelia. This card, mandatory at 2, in my opinion. There's a lot of times where I fuse this Dragostapelia and a tier into another one. That's why I do like it at 2. The extra deck space isn't super tight, so I'm fine playing it at the number it's at. 1 Winda and 1 Garura. I make this for the elf combo when I summon Merly, and Winda's Winda, Winda's Winda. Everyone loves it. Shaddolls are great. For the links, it's just elf and Link Rebo. Elf is crazy. I make this as much as I can. Just milling 6 with Merly because you have access to Elf is just always going to be good, and this card is too generic. This should have locked you. This should have required 2 Link leveler rank 2s. This card is too generic and should not exist. I hope this gets banned one day. Link Rebo, normal summon, Absolute King Backjack, go into Link Rebo, stack top 3, then you get to play the game.
Would you consider playing Sprend in the future?
So I don't know how Sprend is really going to interact with this deck. There is obviously a lot of cards that you want to send to the graveyard. But the thing with Sprend is you need Merly on the field. The extra deck isn't super tight. It's just I don't know what I would replace for Sprint. I would
Yeah.
definitely test it moving forward. It's definitely not a horrible option, but I can't imagine it coming up too many games. But that's definitely something I want to test moving forward, having access to Dabble now.
For sure.
And finally for the XZs, one Toad, one Opabinia, and then the Anomalocaris. Opabinia is insane. I went into this several times. I only went into Toad like once. Anomalocaris just didn't come up. If this was 2 materials, the Anomalocaris, it would be a lot better. But unfortunately, because Anomalocaris requires 3 materials, there isn't always a situation where you have it. Truth be told, if I was a better player, Anomalocaris probably would have came up because I missed a lot of Paleo triggers. So I would have had those bodies. I'm going to test moving forward. I don't know how much I love Lulu in this deck so far. It's probably going to stay in, but I might take something else out for the Anomalocaris because it is just Dryden. They're both unaffected. This searches you traps. This helps you, really helps you with tempo. If you're getting down on card advantage and you just have some Paleos to work with, you can summon this and really start gaming. You get enough interaction against your opponent with this. It really just gets you back into the game. I really like Opabinia.
I know, before you go to the next ones, I know I've seen a lot of less cut Toad. What are your thoughts on playing Toad?
So Toad only actually came up once for me. I only summoned it once. The Toad is really good when you have another Aqua to tribute, or if you have Elf, and you don't have Elf every game. But when you do have the interactions with Toad and Elf, you have to just have, it's like, you have to open up Merly, open up a ton of Paleos, and open up traps to trigger those Paleos. It doesn't come up constantly, but I mean, I don't see myself cutting it. Just having a negate plus a 22 body is just kind of crazy. The only thing is, like, you can't tribute the Paleos you summon because they're unaffected by monster effects. If you could, I feel like I would like this card a lot more. It'd come up a lot more. But since you can't, it's like you're tributing itself. And unless you have Elf, you're wasting a 22 body on a negate. I don't want to use the word wasting, but I like it moving forward. I think I'm going to keep it in, but, come testing, we might take it out for Anomalocaris if that comes up more, but we definitely want to play the deck in the future. And then the last is the Zeus package. Not too much to say about this. It's the Zeus package. Zeus is crazy. I think Zeus is insane this format. Obviously it triggers Tears. Everything triggers Tears, but Zeus just clearing other boards is insane. It's really good against back row, obviously. If you're able to establish this, it's crazy, especially with breakthrough skill. If your opponent has like the monster negates or the interruption to stop a Zeus play, breakthrough skill in your graveyard just helps you push. Breakthrough skill, summon this, clear the board, you're back in it. Especially like you don't really mind sending your own stuff. Obviously you want to get your trap effects on the field off, but if you have to send it just to clear your opponent's board and you have to send 2 of your own traps, who cares? They have grave effects. They're going to do something. If it's Lost Wind, you're resetting them. If it's a Paleo, you're summoning it back when you reactivate that Lost Wind. Like, Zeus is crazy in this deck. Lastly, for the side deck, triple Lava Golem. This card kind of boned me. I'm not going to lie. I got sacked by myself with this card. The times I drew this, I just drew a ton of normal summons. Like, I drew this, Merly, Backjack, and 2 traps. And I'm like, what could I do with this? I have to Lava Golem my opponent, and then I set 2 pass. And then they beat me because I only set 2 pass. And you need more than just set 2 pass. But I take out the normal summons. I usually side out like a Merly and a Rhino Heart for Lava Golems, and a Backjack. Usually it's the 3 of for this, but this card is crazy going second. It just breaks boards. Obviously, it's Lava Golem. Wins in time, burn 1,000. The fact that we have to remember that is a problem in Yu-Gi-Oh! Bring back the old time rules. Triple Ghost Reaper. This card, I like it a lot. I won't say that it performed extremely well. The 2-tier matchups I played, I lost both of them, even though I had successfully Ghost Reapered. Sometimes when you just Ghost Reaper their Kit Kalos, it just doesn't matter, and they have enough to push through. Abyss Dweller is a crazy card, and that's how I lost both my tier matchups. Even though I, Ghost Reapered their Kit Kalos, I got Abyss Dwellered, and nothing I can do about Abyss Dweller. As we had said in the other two, that's not right. As we had said in the other 2 deck profiles, Evenly's mandatory. This card's crazy. Breaks literally every board. Everything in the meta right now, this is crazy against. I would definitely either side or main this. In this deck specifically, I would not main it, obviously. because this has no milling potential, but siding it 100%. I would not take that out of the side this format.
Toad is gone.
Toad is indeed gone. Cry about it. I'm RIP my boy Rodent Toaden. The Trinity of One-Ofs. These two really good against back row decks. Obviously, Feather Duster clears boards. I didn't play against any. And then Mischief of the Gnomes. I'm sure most people have seen Mischief of the Gnomes at this point. The cool thing is, because we're playing Paleo tier, normally Tearlament, if you were to play Mischief of the Gnomes, have to play 3 of them because you need to mill it. You can send it off of Curious, but that's on your turn. It literally does not matter when you do it. This deck plays Morella, so you have 4 copies of Mischief of the Gnomes when you side it in. I really like it. Ryan is not a huge fan of it, but the only Sprite matchup I played against, it came up, it did its job. It prevented him from making a board, and you just send it off Morella, so you only need to play 1 copy of it, and it's just Sprite hate. It's just a really good card overall. Also, Exo Sister hate. That's something that a lot of people, any XZ's deck, this card just puts in work again. There's a lot of niche applications for it. I'm a big fan of Mischief for the Gnomes. The final card, 3 anti-spell fragrance. This is not what I played at the 3v3. Sorry, I did not just I didn't fix my deck before we did this deck profile. This was Dimensional Barrier. Not a good card. Play anti-spell. This card is just leagues better. Dimensional Barrier. When you're playing a deck that really cares about tempo and just making sure that you have more cards and more things and more interactions than your opponent, you don't need to just hit a skip turn button because this deck does not kill very easily. I mean, if you have your tier engine rolling and you really get there, yes, you can OTK. It's very unlikely that you're winning in 1 turn. You definitely want to set up a board where you're sitting on this for a while. You play 2 spells, so this literally does not affect your deck in any way, shape, or form. And I'd rather sit on this and have my opponent have to play around anti-spell than skip a turn with Dimensional Barrier. This hits a lot more decks than Dimensional Barrier does too. This hitting Flu is my favorite application. Also stopping things like Feather Duster, Lightning Storm. Thought about Judgments in this slot, but this card is just better. But unfortunately, I did end up going 1 and 5 in my matches at the 3v3. But overall, I had a very fun tournament experience, and I want to say a huge thank you to Ryan and Josiah, my 2 teammates on Team Straw Hat, for carrying me to top 4. And also thank you to Unmatched Games, and thank you to all of the other players that we played against. I had an absolute blast, and I cannot wait for the next 3v3, and we'll see you guys in the next video.